Come on kid, this is your dream, you said, the next level awaits. So you have absolutely no time for pity parties, access for you has already been granted. You were put on this earth to win, you will put on this earth to reign supreme. Come on kid, this is your dream, see, no matter where you're from. Your dreams are valid, so don't dream your life. Live your dream, it's time for you to shine bright like a diamond, make all that pressure, make all that pain, make all the hardships, make all that stress, make all that strain count for something. Music, embrace the best you. You said when you grow up you wanted to leave a legacy. Said when you grow up you wanted the world to not only remember his name but more importantly remember your last name. Kid, you gotta take some males to get to the elevation. So never let the past pain block you or stop you, I need you to claim your future success. Because remember my friend, those failures are not you, those setbacks are not you, those neck downs are not you, the sad days are not you, the bad days are not you, they're just a stepping stone to get you across the bridge of where you're trying to go. So I need you to run away from that drama and low self-esteem and run towards Serenity Pepper Studio Dream. Foreign, I know you feel like you're at your breaking point, but I want you to do yourself a huge favor and take a second and think about this. No matter what you're going through, there's somebody that's dealing with something much worse. So what I need you to do, pick your head up. I need you to believe in yourself. I need you to dig deep and find the confidence for you to keep pushing, for you to keep going, for you to keep growing, for you to keep growing, because success is yours. You said you wanted this, wrote it down on your goals list. You wrote it down on your to-do list. It's not going to be easy. There will be roadblocks, there will be setbacks, there will be pitfalls, and there will be haters. Haters will try and deceive, but you will shake them off. Because you've got greatness to achieve. Frustration is the same, but you haven't given up. You know you can do something, but you haven't figured it out. So when you have those kind of feelings, look at them, and there's something positive in that. It's never too late, it's better to start earlier on in life. I wrote a book, Mastery, that deals with that subject. The earlier you figure it out, the better off you are, but it can happen later in life. Now I figured out at an early age that I wanted to write. I didn't know what I wanted to write, but I love words and I love writing, and if I didn't have that connection when I was 8 years old all the way into high school and college, I would have been a lost soul. And I empathize with a lot of people who don't have that feeling when they're 8 or 18 or in their 20s, but I'm trying to tell people everybody has it. You're just not listening to yourself. You're on social media too much. You're listening to what other people are telling you. You listen to what your parents told you you should be doing in life. Listen to what your friends think is cool, interesting too. What the culture is all about, you know, the entertainment industry, etc. We've got to cut all that, you got to listen to yourself. You got to be a bit old. You have to embrace what makes you different. I say what makes you weird, because I know personally I'm very weird person. I do, and I don't mind being weird. I use it to my advantage. I put it in my books. You have weirdness to you, whoever you are, things that you might sometimes be a little bit ashamed or embarrassed or uncomfortable with, right? But you shouldn't be. What makes you different, what makes you particularly strange, if you want to use another word, is your strength, is your source of power. You've lost touch with it. Let's go back and try and find it. And that's the whole problem. How do you find it? Well, it's a process. You have to be patient. It's not going to come like a light bulb in your head. I was meant to do this. I was meant to write 48 miles per hour. That's not how it works. It takes time to do anything in life, takes time and hours and patience and work. I recommend starting a journal and such and writing down some of the things that I think are important to you. So I like to tell people to go back to their earliest childhood memories of things that really excited them before they got mixed up with parents and teachers and all that other people telling them stuff. Like for me, it was worth words and language. It just was entranced by the sound of language itself, right? It's like music to me. You had something like that. I know you do, and I am completely egalitarian. I believe everybody has that. When I wrote the book Mastery, which is what this book is about, to prove my point that everyone has it, I interviewed contemporary masters, and one of them is the woman Temple Grandin, who was born with high-level autism, right? She was going to be hospitalized for her entire life. When she was 2 or 3 years old, she had the good luck of finding the right teacher who brought her out of her shell. And she eventually became a very respected professor of animal research. Right, she's absolutely brilliant. She also studies autism itself. If somebody with that kind of disability, that kind of thing, everything stacked against her, if she could reach, she could figure it out and reach mastery, then I certainly believe everybody has that potential. But I know it doesn't come easy. It's a process, and you have to be patient, but you have to put in the work. Those circumstances, now it's easy for me, a boomer, I have to admit that, to preach to you when you have to gone through you've gone through a pandemic that made what looks like to be a recession, and then if you're a millennial, you went through another, you went through the crash in '08. It's easy for me to preach you're dealing with really difficult circumstances, and there's what they call it the great resignation outside, right? So a lot of people are rethinking their lives. They don't want to work at crap jobs just to get by, and I applaud that 100, right? That's great. So you want to think about working for yourself is the ultimate position in this world, and even though times are difficult, even though it may seem like just a dream, there's so much potential out there for entrepreneurial spirit, for creating your own stardom, for creating your own podcast, for going your own path. In life, you don't have to follow other people. It's not like it was when I was growing up. There were things that were better back then, the things that were a lot worse, right? You have so many more options. It's just that you're not going to reach them. You're not going to be happy in this short time that you have to be alive a lot, unless you take it seriously, unless you learn skills and develop and go through an apprenticeship in your 20s, etc. So if you can balance those two and still have some fun and adventure and excitement like I did, I mean, I don't want to hold myself to some model, but being an Irishman in Paris in my early 20s, I was having adventures, right? So just don't listen to your parents. Got to be making $100,000 when I'm 23 and go to law school and do all this stuff, you're gonna burn out. So kind of understand I guess the main thing I would say is know who you are, know what you're deep down your core, but you love what you hate and what you were destined to create in this world. That's like the most important process you can go through. The key to me being driven is identifying what my passion is and my mission is. When we started impacting, it really was to make change. So Quest was the answer to helping people in our lives who were struggling with weight, and impact theory was the answer to people in our lives who were struggling with a poor mindset. And someone like my mom, Quest was already $1 billion company, and my mom was still morbidly obese, and I was trying because I care about her so much. I just want her to live for a long time. I don't care about what she looks like. She's like, Mom, I want you to eat the healthiest you can, be around for a long time. And I tried to give a free Quest bars. I offered to pay for trainers for her, and every time I would say, you remind me, like, what can I do, how can I help? She just said, I'm too old, I can't lose the weight, I'm too old. And over time you realize the power of the mind. And then over time, as we started to work mindset involved in the studio, because that was our background, we really started to realize that to create actual impact, you need to go after the younger kids, because the age of imprint between 11 and 15, that's the period where they're most susceptible to the messaging. And so if we really want to do no BS, what is actually going to take to make global change on people's mindset, you've got to get them young. So we basically sat down and said, what does that look like? What type of stuff, video to be built? And then for me, my personal thing has just been leaning more and more into young girls, as I could wake up every single freaking day and fight for that 14-year-old girl that was me, that didn't believe in myself, that felt ugly, that was teased, that was made fun of. For my love, I will fight for that 14-year-old girl, so that if I can touch her then and let her know and have her help her to believe she could become anything she wants, if she sets her mind to it and works hard, then I feel like my job is done. You're going to decide, and then you're going to do things to reinforce that in your own mind. It was a very dark period of my life, and there really is. It's the one thing in my life that's just a line in the sand, and there's before and after that moment, realizing what I now call the only belief that matters, what Carol DeWitt calls the growth mindset, which is that if I put time and energy into getting better at something, I will actually get better at that thing. And so just realizing, whoa, I could put time and energy into this thing, and I will actually improve over time. And so that perspective shift will change everything in your life, because now it's about skill acquisition. But the important thing there, the real breakthrough moment, was realizing that what I built my self-esteem around mattered. And so I had been building my self-esteem around being right, being smart, being worthy. That was holding me back. You have this thing called the psychological immune system, and the psychological immune system is going to give you reasons why that failure is not your fault. And the bad thing is that it focuses you outward, right? Like, oh, it's their fault, they did this, they're holding me back, the world doesn't want me to succeed, whatever. The good thing is it actually stops you from beating yourself up too much. And so if you can learn that, oh, wait a second, I need to value myself for something, but that something does not need to be being right. And so instead, if I switch it to, I'm going to build my self-esteem around identifying the right answer. Now all of a sudden you actually can have a growth mindset. You can be focused on getting better and improving and just learning, because when you realize that you've made a mistake, it's actually exhilarating, because you're like, whoa, I can run the physics of progress, I can get better at this thing and make this incremental improvement. And so that was life-changing for me. And so of course it wasn't like, oh, lime in the sand, my life was bad, now my life is good, but it was lying in the sand, I'm not making progress, now I'm making progress. And so that day really did. And I remember the whole debate that I had with myself that day was like, oh, this is like the First day of the rest of my life, I'm no longer going to value myself for being good, smart, right, worthy. I'm gonna value myself entirely for being willing to stare nakedly at my inadequacies, figuring out what I need to get good at. No, underscore, what would it take to achieve my goals, and then I'm just gonna do that, and I'm gonna do it knowing that success cannot be guaranteed, so I have to find a way to love this even if I were failing, and that becomes the magic cocktail. It doesn't mean that you ever stop wanting to win, like I'm still very much motivated to win, but I'm not devastated when I lose, and I'm optimizing for the struggle. So in the struggle, when I'm not sure if I'm going to win or lose yet, I'm still having fun. Most successful people in the world are the people that can self-soothe. So can you avoid being triggered? If you're being triggered and you look outward and you're angry at the person that triggered you, that's weakness. You are manifesting weakness, and you have to go, oh, someone has triggered me, that means I have an insecurity around this thing, I need to address my insecurity, and then that's going to put you in a far more powerful position to move forward. So the people that are successful, they can self-soothe, they can stay emotionally calm in the midst of the storm. When everybody else is panicking, they're only looking at solutions. There is no excuse for not living up to your fullest potential. No excuse. How can I get the best of me so I can get the best out of me? It all starts with self-understanding. So when you understand yourself, you know you're stressed, you know your weaknesses, you know what you're good at, you know your tendencies. That's when you can start conquering you. I'm going to fight, I'm going to work, I'm going to press toward, I'm going to learn. I'm going to do everything in my power every single day. I'm going to do everything in my power to become a victor, not a victim. Master yourself. Mastery is everything. I heard a wise person say, controlling oneself is true strength. Do you have enough strength to knock out the negativity, to knock out the ignorance, to knock out the stinking thinking, to win the battle of you versus you? Don't think for 1 second that you emerge victorious one time and that's it. This is a daily process. You have to knock out the ignorance, you have to knock out the toxic, you have to knock out the negativity each and every day of your life. Winners win and losers lose. I can't explain it any better than that. I don't know how it happens, what winners win, and if you create a culture of losing, if you keep being a victim, if you keep letting losing happen to you, if you keep letting people do you and treat you any kind of way, it's going to become a culture. When you say you're going to do something and you actually get it done, sense of accomplishment, the self-pride, I need you to lock that feeling in, because that's what's going to drive you to do it again the next day, and do it again the day after that, and the day after that, and put yourself in a position to emerge victorious. Low self-esteem, doubt and fear, and you can find your way on this side, guys. It's sweeter on this side. And also stop blaming yourself for what somebody else did to you. Forgive yourself for that too. It's not your fault. It's not an easy win, but I guarantee you, I promise you are more than capable of winning the battle. We want people to make guarantees to us, but we're not willing to make guarantees to ourselves. Now grandma said again, like you, somebody gave you a guarantee, 30-day guarantee in 30 days. If you don't make what they told you was going to make in 30 days, you got an attitude, you want your money back, but you never demanded your money back from yourself. You've never looked at yourself in the mirror and said you let you die. Until you get to that point, you let you die. You're not brave enough. You want to put it on somebody else. The reason why I'm not successful is because of my boss. Have you ever looked at yourself in the mirror and said, I'm not getting up on time, I'm not going to work on time, I'm not putting in 120 when I'm at work, I let me down? And when you get to the point where you can say you let you down, can't listen to me, no disrespect, I don't care about Glenn. That's not why I do what I do, and I love Glenn. I don't come here and do what I do so Glenn can affirm me, so he can give me a pat on my back. I care more about me than I care about what Glenn thinks about me. I have standards, I have values. I don't care how much you favor it. If I speak at an elementary school for 300, I chose to do that for 300. If I chose to speak at a prison for free, I chose to do that, and I will not go in there giving those prisoners less than what somebody pays me 100,000. Why? Because I value myself enough to give 100, 120, or don't do it. And you, my friend, have all the power you need to dominate yourself, because that's what it's going to take for you to arrive at your desired destination of next level greatness. It's you versus you. So you say to yourself, what do I do when I say I'm going to do this, but I wind up doing that and I let myself down? That's when the self-punishments come into place. Sometimes you have to put your own foot in your own behind and shut yourself down. It's okay to be upset with you. It's okay to put yourself on a timeout, because sometimes you have to tell yourself, I know I want to go to the party, I know I want to go hang out, but I can't go to the party, I can't go hang out, because I said I was going to do this and I didn't get it done. So right now there's no fun until I get It done. You know, a lot of people, they just think about manifesting something, but in the law of the harvest I teach you how to plow the ground. You got to plant the right seed then. You've got to water the seed, which is repetition. And then you'll reap the harvest. And I feel that some people, they get really frustrated in the plowing, the planting and the watering. But they don't realize that payday is on its way. So as you prosper where you're planted and you build your spot, life will put the spotlight on your spot. Number 1, we learn from education. Number 2, we learn from conversation. Number 3, we learn from observation. So I began to educate myself. I began to have better conversations, and I began to watch people around me that got to shout back, and I emulated and started following what they did to get your shout back. The first thing you got to do is get tired of being tired. If you're bloated, get tired of being bloated. If you're poor, get tired of being poor. If you're lonely, get tired of being lonely. And you really got to get tired of being tired. It's a destiny, it's a faith, and it's the power of the imagination. And what I believe is that I was just in alignment with what heaven was saying about Tim's story. So I got this saying that I say I don't believe in chasing things. I just want to be in alignment with what I think has been spoken over me. Mindset to me is it's a perspective, it's a point of view, it's another vantage point. And so when we were lower income in Compton, we had never seen anything like we're about to view a few days later. What do you mean, Tim? Story. Well, somebody gave us free tickets to Disneyland. When I went to Disneyland as a 7-year-old, and I saw Tomorrow I and Frontier Land. And I saw all these different lands, and I saw Mickey Mouse up close, Donald Duck up close, the fireworks show at 9:30 at night. Whoa, my life changed. It was all about a different perspective. From Compton, California, and the things I saw there going to Disneyland, and I found out later it was literally only like 40 miles away. 40 miles away I was about to have a life change. And so mindset is a different perspective. Because then you get the miracle mentality. All of a sudden you're thinking uncommon, not normal, not regular. And you begin to see those things that have not yet happened as though they're possible. So before I became great friends with Oprah, I saw myself being great friends with Oprah. So when we started talking a lot, it didn't throw me off. Because I've had this conversation, I've envisioned these conversations. This is a mind-boggling stuff, but I saw it before it even happened. No kidding, I saw it. What's most important for somebody to think about, you know? If they're in that kind of teeter-totter moment right now, yeah, I think that all of us are going through recovery and discovery at the same time. Recovery of things lost in the past, recovery of things lost in that we're challenged in the present, but in the midst of recovery. And discover this, not lose the beautiful moments that can happen now. And I think we got so caught up in the challenges that we didn't pay attention to the beauty of life. What I teach is that we all have what I call life interruptions. An interruption is a disturbance. You've had them, I've had them. It could be when somebody's young and they get ill, or their parents get divorced, or in this case my father passed. So it's a life interruption. And then when most people have that life interruption or setback, they don't know how to get out of it. And so that's one thing that I think created a calling in me, that I wanted to help more people that had life interruptions find a way up and out. So when somebody has a setback, what happens to them most times? They go very singular. They go really inward. So if they go through a divorce, they go very inward. Or they lost their job, they go inward. Anxiety or depression, pandemic, they go very inward. But when you have a setback, the first thing you got to do is you got to become awake. You got to become conscious. You got to say, oh my gosh, we're in the middle of a pandemic and we may need to be locked down for a month. A month turned into another month. And then to over a year, right? So number 1, become awake. Secondly, you have to take inventory. Where am I financially? Where am I with my job? Where am I with my mental health? How is my family doing? How's my country doing? How's this world doing? So number 1, you become awake. Secondly, take inventory. But here's a powerful thing. You have to partner with the right people. I feel that a lot of people, when they have a setback, they don't have the right people to partner with. So that's what I always wanted to become, and that's what I became. I want to be the person that somebody could link hands with and say, come on, Tim's story. You may not know everything, but you know how to get people from a setback to a comeback. Some of the lessons that I learned from my first restaurant business was to get really clear on why you're doing something. Was to get really clear on what you're doing and why you're doing something. And when it's no longer working, we have to reevaluate, right? I think there were lots of moments in my restaurant journey where things weren't really working, and I felt like I didn't want to let it go. I have really clear boundaries with the people that you work with, especially if they're your business partners, right? In small businesses, we tend to have really intimate relationships. And we're really in a lot of the trenches together. However, remember why you're in a relationship in the first place, which is the business. So it's really important to put the needs of the business first. To not take things personally. I had that business in my 20s. I'm a very different person now. I've had a lot of time to reflect. And I think when things don't go, the way I wanted them to, or the way I expect them to, I would often take it personally. And this relates to what I was just saying. And like in business, it's never personal, right? In business, it's always about what is the best thing for the greater collective here, which is everyone involved in the business. Not just one individual's, like being in my 20s. Especially the part when I was in New York City. And I was freelancing, and New York has such this energy of Europe, all out here hustling, we're all trying to make it right. I was really engulfed in the energy line. I think I felt I feel like I was rushing a lot in my 20s. Rushing to make it, or rushing to prove something of myself. Or rushing to have something to show for myself, right? So if I could smell a piece of advice I give my 20-year-old self is don't be in a rush, enjoy the journey, enjoy the process, enjoy everything you're going through. Because it goes by really quickly, right? And then it gets a lot harder. So yeah, that's what I'd say. Don't be in a rush. I want you to know that you matter. Yep, I said you. Not anybody else but you. When you wake up in the morning, I want you to know what you do matters. When you brush your teeth in the morning, I want you to know that you matter. When you earn your clothes in the morning and you don't feel like getting out of bed, I want you to know that you matter. I want you to understand that you matter, because what you do could change somebody's life and the trajectory of what they can overcome. Listen to me very closely. There's a reason. I want to make sure you understand the reason. The reason why I told you you matter is because you'll never have. You'll never be, you'll never do. Listen to me, you'll never experience life the way you were supposed to experience life until you recognize that you matter. Now it's important for me to let you know that you are powerful beyond measure. How you feel, I understand your emotion. I understand what it feels like to be in last place, but I want you to know that you got to keep running the race and never give up, because when you give up, you fail. When you give up, you quit, and you'll never go back. So I'm trying to get you to understand that going and moving forward in the process, even though that you face opposition and adversity, you have to keep going, because you and I are the aspirin to somebody's headache. How long will you let them suffer? Because you got to keep moving forward. I need to understand why. Eric, why am I so powerful beyond a measure? Eric, is it just because I'm a royal priesthood in the chosen generation? Is it just because I have a set of particular skills? No. The last one is because you have an experience like nobody else experienced. The reason why I speak the way I speak is because I was homeless. And I embrace it, because I ate out of trash cans. Are you hear me? Are you listening to what I'm telling you? Because my father was not in my life. It's not a negative thing. It makes me who I am today. I can relate to you in ways that nobody else can, because I ate out of garbage. I've been to the bottom. I can tell you how to start from the bottom and get to the top. Are you hear me? I have a set of particular skills that nobody else has, but more importantly, I have an experience that nobody else has ever experienced. And that's what makes your life unique, and that's what makes you you. I want you to know that you matter. Because nobody ever told me that I met him. I want you to know that you matter. Because you got people that's depending on you right now. You may have some kids. You may have some younger siblings. You may have mom, dad, grandma, auntie. There's somebody out there that's depending on you. So I want you to know that you mad. Because I remember my 8th grade teacher told me, I'll never be anything in life. I'll either be dead or in jail. So I want you to know that you matter. I'm telling you that I'm depending on you because you mad. Don't tell yourself a negative story. Don't allow yourself to loop and defeat. Find people that can elevate you. Find people that will, in a very real skills-based way, help you see the path forward and help you hold on to the only belief that matters, that you can figure this out, and nobody can tell you what you can't overcome if they. So I want you to trust the process. I want you to stay 10 toes down. I want you to understand that you can prove them wrong, because I want you to know that you have the ability. And you have the tools and the power, and all of the amazing characteristics that are on the inside of you are ready to come out and come to fruition, and ready to see you walking your purpose and who you were called to be and what you were called to do. What happened for me when I said I'm powerful beyond measures? I realized I had a set of skill. Listen to me. I realized that I was a royal priesthood, a chosen generation. Are you hearing what I'm telling you? I realized that I had a set of particular skills that nobody else in the earth had listened to me. If you're 50 million speakers that got in a room, and we all did what we did, nobody would do it like Eric Thomas. And I'm gonna tell you something. You're powerful beyond measure when you do what you've been born and do what you've been called to do, what you've been birthed to do. Nobody can't do it like you. Nobody can sing the way. See, nobody can speak the way you speak. Nobody can write the way you write. Nope, nobody can love the way you love. Nobody can play that piano. Nobody can play that saxophone. Nobody can play that violin. No, nobody can do poetry quite like you can do it. Nobody can produce the way you produce. Nobody can write scores the way you write scores. You hear Powerball. And you're powerful beyond measure. And so I need you to activate. Y'all talk about right now. Not tomorrow, not the day after. Now I need to listen to me. Yes, I told you to matter, but now I need you to embrace it. I need you to embrace it that you are powerful, and not just powerful. Are you hear me? You were powerful beyond measure. You cannot measure your value, cannot be. You're invaluable. You are unstoppable. When you do what you do, you're unbelievable. You are amazing. There is no one else like you. Foreign.